Good day, this is Tata Tonko Seiba doing a video on a topic that I get many questions about, and that is the spell works used to tie up people. First and foremost, I just want to say that I do not claim to have the absolute truth. Now, I always get asked, do love spells exist? Yes, they do. I also get asked, do these types of works work? Yes, they absolutely do, as long as it's done correctly. Another question associated with that is, how long do these types of works last for? And this comes down to how much maintenance is done in order to keep on top of this spiritual work. Even when you get the desired result, you still gotta maintain that energy charge on top of it in order to keep it running smoothly. Because these types of work could change overnight. Even when you think you have it there, if you just slack off and don't work with it, don't continue giving its proper current, its energy, could just unwind. Now, these types of work could be used. You could use Palo spirits like Mama Chola and Sasi, just to name two, in order to do these types of work with. I'm gonna mention a couple things in this video, but I'm not gonna give you the entire recipe. There's gonna be gaps in between everything I tell you. For the most part, most of you won't be able to fill in the gaps. Those that are able, well, more power to you. So I'm just gonna talk about it briefly. I'm not gonna give out any secrets here. Like, generally, it's best if you know the person's full name and birthday, and it's extremely helpful if you receive an item worn by this person, a shirt, pants, whatever. Even a photograph would do, because now people might say, oh, that's easy, I can do that myself. Well, it comes down to knowing how to harness that energy left in those items and transferring them into the ingredients which you would be using to construct this spell work. Now, remember that we all leave an energy signature, and we also leave DNA like sweat on clothing. So this is something that the Paleo Tata Yaya needs to know how to retrieve in order to enhance it in the spiritual works, in order to make it work. And not only that, besides your dirty clothes, someone can even dip a cotton ball in the toilet water and retrieve your DNA. So for someone that is not too comfortable around the person they're living with when it comes to these aspects, that they're afraid of any types of work being done against them, well, I suggest that you keep track of all your dirty items, your clothes, and every time you urinate, flush that toilet. I mean, you can get precautions. You can stick those dirty clothes in a certain sack and tie a certain way, whatnot, whatever the case may be, if you're in an unhealthy relationship like that to begin with. Now, where 90% of the love spells fail at is that they fail in making a compromise between that person's egoons, because we all have egoons. Now, if you have good egoons on your side, they're not going to permit these types of work unless you're able to convince them that the person that is doing that job against the person that they're protecting is sincere and just needs a little time in order to make things right. It doesn't really work that well when it comes to egoons, so then that's when you have to get the Palo spirits to go toe-to-toe with the egoons in order to keep them at bay, so you're able to do the spiritual work that you have to do, which means the Palo spirits are going to be using up a lot of energy. And which means if you're not on top of these spiritual works, the maintenance I'm talking about, it's going to be broken real fast. Now, the reason about a love spell work is not because if the person thinks you're going to do spell work on somebody just to keep that person numb so they can continue to do all the ratchet things that they've been doing, the Palo spirits are going to move out the way, and the angles are going to come through. That spell is going to be broken in such a way that it's going to bring severe consequences. And that's where a lot of times these jobs, when they're broken, the person that was under that spell becomes extremely violent towards the person that did the job. So when you do a job like this, is to buy you enough time for you personally to change and become the person that your better half wants you to be. If you're extremely sincere that you messed up, after all, we're all humans, and you're so remorseful about this, and honestly, you want to change, these types of jobs give you that opportunity. But like I said, if the Palo spirits, they realize that you're just taking advantage of the person, they're just moving out the way. They're gonna let the egos come in and storm in there, and it's not gonna be pretty for you. But that's where the know-how comes, how to actually approach that person's egos and try to do a compromise. Sometimes they do realize the fact that this person did mess up and they truly love the person that they're protecting, and they will actually agree to a temporary spell. If not, like I said, then you have to get the Palo spirits to go toe-to-toe with that. And this is why a lot of these love spells are extremely expensive. There's a lot of work that goes into these types of work. Just in what I explained to you with the Palo spirits and the Eguns, it's a lot of work. Now, you have to realize that you have to go to different parts of nature to get different ingredients. In my case, some of the ingredients that I use in these types of spell works are not available naturally in my surroundings, so I will have to order them, and that adds up to the cost. And then after you have everything together, it all depends on the Palo spirits whether they need a blood sacrifice at that moment as you're consecrating the job, or during the course of the actual working of the job. Whatever the case may be, that's another reason why these spell works, when you take this route in order to use those Palo spirits in order to do these types of work, they definitely do need their sacrifice. And like I said, everything's put together, everything is consecrated. It's just constant work just to maintain, to make sure that work is it's walking in this, it's moving in the direction that is needed. And like I told you before, if the Eguns refuse to cooperate, then you know the Palo spirit's gonna have a little battle in their hand. So the more energy they use, the more feeding you have to give them, because unfortunately, you know, they're using up a lot of energy. And I don't really condone these types of work. I'm a strong believer in just doing the right thing in life, period. And if there's no more real love left in that relationship, it's much healthier to just move on and just start anew with somebody else. Because at the end of the day, the person that you might be with at this current time in life is not the person meant to be. While the next person that you move on to, that could be the person that's meant to be to live the rest of your lives together, so forth and so on. So, I strongly recommend just sit down and think about these types of work, because they're not easy and they're certainly not cheap. And then another thing is, keep in mind, the more spiritual work somebody has done on themselves, so that if you're constantly doing witchcraft on your partner, there will come a point. Eventually, there will come a point where that person is just going to serve way too much of those negative currents thrown towards them, where mentally they're going to be a little off. And I've seen people where eventually they have had to go to the crazy farm. So this is all I have to say about these types of work. Until next time, may Sami bless you and yours, and salam alaikum.